This is a great segue into that final step of setting up your board. The way you put it, it looks overwhelming. There's no way I'm going to reach my phi number, right? Mm-hmm. Well, let's look at it this way. Interest. I think it was Albert Einstein that once said, those who understand compound interest take advantage of it. Those who don't are taken advantage of. Mm-hmm. And those who are given credit cards, and trust me, I mean, those companies that issue credit cards, they know what they're doing. They know who to give it to. They know who's not going to pay off those cards, and they're going to make more money off of that interest. That's how they stay in business, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. Well, our thing is to make sure that we understand interest on both sides, where you're paying, and that's the first part of the game. But then the second part of the game is when you're playing offense on reaching that phi number, winning the game, right? Because that's where interest or compounding really comes into play. But set up the board. The last part is actually know what your phi number is. And there's a couple of them that you want to focus on. But when you're playing a game, my brother and I play strategy games all the time, Scott. He pulls out a game and he wants to teach me this new strategy game, this huge game that takes probably 3 hours to play, right? And he'll try to tell me all kinds of things like, oh, well, when it's your turn, you can do this over here. If you use these pieces, you can do this over here. And I interrupt him every time that he's teaching me a new game. I go, Scott, just how do I win? What's the objective of this game? Is it points? Is it, do I have the person with the most money at the end wins? Is it the person who builds this first wins? What is, or eliminates their opponent first? What is the object of the game? So in the game of phi, know what the object is. The game of phi is to become financial independent. But let's look at this. Let's define that. What is financial independence? Financial independence is the ability to walk away from a job and you have an income stream that is still going to cover all of your bills. Mm-hmm. That is, and we usually call that a passive income stream. You could have a part-time job to help you out, but usually it's going to be, if you want true financial independence, you have passive income stream or streams that will cover all of your bills. And if you're going to work, it's because you just love what you do. Mm-hmm. That's it. Right. That is reaching phi. But how do you find out how much money you need, or how do you get those passive income streams? There are basically two ways to do it. You've got your investments that will provide you one passive income stream. It's creating like returns, like return on investments, right? It's creating returns. Mm-hmm. And then you've got maybe your side hustles, we can call it. It's things that are going on the side. Maybe that's rental real estate that is helping you. Maybe you have a pension also. Let's put that into that passive income stream. Maybe you had you worked in the military for 20 years and you've got this pension that's coming. Or maybe you've got this job that they're few and far between now, but you worked at a job long enough that they're paying you a pension, or a teacher oftentimes has a pension right at the end. Right. But those are passive income streams that you need, that you don't have to do anything anymore, and that money is going to cover all of your bills. If you can cover all of your bills and you know exactly how much money you need to have saved up in those investments, then at that point you've won the game. You've reached phi. So we've got to break it down into two different phi numbers, or financial independent numbers. The first one is what you referred to earlier as lean phi. Lean phi is, can I do those things at the top of the page, at the top of that book, those three things? You know, what does every day look like? What's on my bucket list item, and how do I give back? Lean phi, no, you can't. You can't. Maybe you can do a little bit here and there, but no, truly that's not in the picture. But can you quit your job because you've got health concerns, or maybe your job is going to quit you, and decide that you're not going to be working there anymore? Can you survive? Yeah, you've reached lean fi. In other words, you have enough passive income coming in to cover those non-discretionary expenses, the electricity, the food, the gas for the car, internet, things that you have to have for survivability here in this country, at least.
And I think that's interesting because those are two pieces of the game that you have to kind of play simultaneously. You have to work at eliminating your debt, but then you also have to work on those multiple passive income streams, because you can't just get to retirement age and say, okay, I'm done working. Now I'm going to put together my passive income streams. No, because it takes time to establish income streams that are going to serve you. I mean, even buying a rental property, you're going to have to look at what you can afford. You're going to have to look at, where the location is, what you need to do to get this house, and purchasing the rental property and all that. That takes time. And so you need to be working on those things really kind of simultaneously, between the idea of, okay, you've established the budget, you're knocking out your debt, but then at the same time, you're working on what can I create as passive income streams to supplement any kind of income replacement that I'm looking at. So when I quit, like we've talked about in the first conversation, the fact that I'm going to be making a little bit of teacher pension. It's not enough for me to just be able to quit working altogether, but it is a certain amount of money that I'll get every month until the end of my life, that I will know that amount of money is just coming every month regardless. And so, being able to start those perpetual income streams, those passive income streams that will just keep contributing to your income without you having to spend time and energy on them, and to get at least 3 or 4 of those, or at least 3 of them up and running. So if you've got a rental property and you've got investments, what are some things that you would consider then to be like a third income stream for yourself?
Yeah. So your job, number one, if your job can allow it, that would obviously be one. Your investments, number 2, and rental real estate would be number 3. You will get a 4th. We don't rely on this 4th one. It will be there, trust me, but that will be Social Security down the road.
Right. Once we hit the point where we can collect that without any kind of problems.
Yes, I wouldn't worry about all those, I don't know.
Doomsday, naysayers.
Yeah, the ones that it's just not going to be there. It's going to be there.
Right.
Will it be lowered? For some, maybe it will be lowered, but will it be there? Absolutely, it's going to be there. But we don't want to count on that, right? The thing is, look for a job. If your job provides it, that's certainly one. Your investments always will be one, and we'll talk about investments, because that is the main one for most people. And then, of course, real estate, that side gig that's going on, that would be another one. Some of these, like real estate, is an example that you will take a step back in the game in order to take 3 steps forward down the road while you're playing this game.
Because of the initial expense.
There is a little bit there, yeah. Right. Now, hopefully, you've got some knowledge on how to pick those properties, and we can go into that on another episode. But there's always challenges when you're dealing with real estate. Do you have the person who is going to rent that? Or are you losing a renter, right? But bottom line is, you definitely have some options out there. But let's talk about identifying the FI number. How do you do that, right? Because ultimately, it's still vague at this point. I want to win this game, but I don't have a date. I don't even know how to create a date where I'm going to win this game.
Right.
There is a way to do that, and this is why it's doable, because you have something to strive for. It all goes back to the budget, believe it or not. Wow. All this goes back to the budget. When you're doing your budget, you basically know what you need to live on. Let's say at this point you've taken care of all those interest-bearing debts, right? All those credit cards. Right. You don't have a car payment anymore, right? And your cars you're paying because you've reached financial independence. If you want to buy a new car, you're paying cash for it because you've got that. Okay. So the only interest-bearing account that you might have if you decide to hold on to it is your house. Some people decide, no, I'm going to pay off that as well.
Right.
And that's fine as well. But the student loans are gone now, the car payments are gone, and maybe the house is there still. At this point, you know what you need to live on. Right? Because that's all right there. That's what you need. It's on your income statement. It's on the expense side of that. So you basically can take that total, and that's your monthly amount that you need to have. Multiply that by 12. You've got your annual expenses. This is what I need to live in a given year. So if I have a passive income stream, let's say that it's $3,000 a month. And let's say that obviously that comes out to $36,000 a year. Let's make it easy. Let's just round it to $40,000. Okay, so $40,000. I need some income stream that's going to provide $40,000. If I get there, I have reached lean fi. I don't have enough to do those other three things that I want to do. That we'll call that fat fi, but we'll get to that. But we can now feel comfortable that I don't have to work if that job gets eliminated somehow. 40,000. But what creates 40,000? How do I get that passive income stream? Well, let's say that it was just investments. Remember, you've got a few different ones out there. You could have a teacher's pension. You could have rental properties. But let's just focus on the investment side of it. You've been putting money away in your 401k, hopefully a little bit here, a little bit there. Maybe you've been contributing to an IRA, but you've got money that over the years you've been putting aside. If you haven't, we'll talk about that and how to get that going. But at this point, you've got money aside. How much do you need to create $40,000? Well, it all goes back to, well, how much will that money, when you invest it, where are you investing it to get to 40,000? If you are expecting an 8% return on investment, this is key. If your investments can produce 8%, which is relatively safe, the history of the market, over any 40-year term, give any 40-year, you can come up with it and do your research if you want, but any 40-year period has never created less than 8.4% return on investment. Okay, so that is the market overall. So if you, and many times it's much more than 8%. It averages, I think, between 10 and 11%, the market overall. So if we want to say 8%, that's pretty safe. So if you can create investments, or if you can create a portfolio, and we'll talk about that later, if you can create a portfolio that returns 8%, then you need $1 million to create $40,000 a year. It actually creates twice that much. It actually creates 80,000, but we're not going to talk about the other 40 because that we're putting aside for inflation purposes, because over time prices go up, as we can see today especially. So we're just going to say that it produces just half of that basically 80,000. $1 million at 8% creates 80,000. That's math. But we're going to say we're only going to use 40,000 of that. So the other 40 is for inflation purposes. So basically you need $1 million in your portfolio or portfolios in your retirement accounts. And when you do that, assuming that you are making at least 8%, you've reached lean fi. It's creating enough money to pay your bills
to replace the income.
And you simply pull money out as needed. And by the way, you will never run out of money. Theoretically speaking, if it's creating 8%, that's creating $80,000 for you. 40,000 goes to paying your bills every year on a monthly basis. 40,000 goes to inflation. The principal never is reduced.
Never changes,
Never is reduced.
So
it possibly goes up.
So what you're talking about then is that once you get to a certain point, and we talked about there being a certain number of years involved to get to that point. But once you get to that point, you could be drawing out just for simple purposes, you're drawing out 4%. It's making 8%, but you're drawing out 4% every year for that lean fi, paying all your bills, getting all that stuff done. And so it's making the 4%, but you're leaving the other 4% in there for it to continue to stack up and continue to, because at one point, your total will never go down, right?
Yeah.
At one point, your total will never go down, and you'll never have to put any more money in. If you're fine with what you're getting, it'll just always be producing that much money ultimately in your retirement account.
In fact, based on historical data, if history repeats itself, and again, there is no guarantee that the market in the future will do what it has done in the past. But if it were to continue doing what it's done in the past, then it will not only create that 8%, it will create much more, and your balance will actually continue to go higher each month. So. So here you go. So if it were just investments, how to get $40,000. What you are spending, your non-discretionary spending. But let's say now you have some side gig. Maybe it's rental, maybe it's a teacher, pension, maybe you're military and you have some money on the side there. Or maybe you want to work a part-time job because you just love what you're doing and you happen to make money doing it.